Welcome guys to another Blender tutorial. So today I'm going to be showing you how to make this really adorable, awesome Android animation in Blender. I'm going to be using Blender 2.8 free. So you can see here it's loopable and it uses some very basic stuff. I'm going to be going step by step. If you guys want this blend file, I'm going to be making it available on my Patreon. So that's in the description below. You guys can also follow me on Instagram. I have a lot of cool stuff I post on there. And if you guys want to support the channel and you don't want to do Patreon, just even subscribing means a lot to me. It gives me a lot of motivation to make these little animation tutorials for you guys. So go ahead and click subscribe if you haven't done that. So yeah, this is it. What you see here, little Android guy, full process. I'm not going to be skipping anything. So I'm going to go through the very beginning all the way to the final render. So let's get into it. I hope you guys enjoy. So the new scene open up in Blender. We're going to select all of the default objects. We're going to go X and we're going to just hit delete. Now we have a nice empty scene here. So first of all, we're going to go Shift A. We're going to go to our mesh options. We're going to add in our first object, which is going to be a UV sphere. And with this UV sphere selected, we're going to hit 1 to go into our front orthographic view. And in our front orthographic view, we're just going to simply go into edit mode. And within our edit mode, I like to just hit Z and go into wireframe, which just helps me. I'm going to hit B, so hit the B key, then click about here and just drag. Select these vertices down here, go X and just delete those vertices. Shift Alt and click on this bottom loop. It'll select this loop of vertices. We're going to go E, Z, and just extrude this down to about here. And then we're going to go E to extrude and S to scale. And we're going to scale this in just to there. We're going to go to our edge select. So click on this edge select option here. Then Shift Alt, click on this edge here. And if you go Control B or Command B on a Mac, and you drag your mouse out, you can kind of create a bevel. If you roll the middle mouse wheel while you're doing that, you can add in these segments. So we're just going to roll in one segment like that and just create this profile here. We're going to hover over here with our mouse, go Control R. You're going to see a yellow line appearing, double click. That's going to add in some more, another loop. Double G, and we're just going to slide this down. So just double G to slide it down. And now, if we go to our modifiers tab here on the right, we can go to our add modifier. Just give this guy a subdivision surface modifier. And that's about it for now. So tab out of edit mode, go to object and just enable shade smooth. So now we're back in object mode here. And we have this guy here. So what we're going to do is another simple object. We're going to go Shift A, we're going to go to our mesh options here, go add in a cylinder. And we're going to make things really simple here. So let's give this guy a bevel. Come down to the limit method, just make it angle. And then we can decrease this offset amount. We can mess around with that a little bit later. Just something like 0.02 is a good amount, I reckon. Come here to the segment count and just bump it up to 3. And then on top of this, we're going to add a subdivision surface modifier. We can then go to our object and just enable shade smooth as well. So with this cylinder selected, we're going to go S to scale it down. So roughly about this for now. Hit 3 on your number pad to go into your right orthographic view. And then we're going to go R90 and hit enter. So we've just rotated it 90 degrees on the X, like that. So go back into your right orthographic view by hitting 3 on your number pad, and then go G, Y, and just move this guy forward to here. And then G, Z, just move it up. So we have this eye here. And let's mirror this. Let's go to modifier tab here, and we're going to add another mirror, another modifier. This time is going to be the mirror. Click on this little eyedropper here, and just select the head part here. Then if you go GX and you move this over to the side, you're going to see it's now being mirrored, which is what we want. So let's scale it up a little bit more. And once again, this is all personal preference kind of stuff. And you can go G, Y, and just move it in a bit more, about here. So totally up to you, but I'm going to go with something like this. To me, this looks quite good. Maybe scale it up a bit more. Then with that done, we're going to go into edit mode and go to your face select here, select this front face, and this is personal preference, but I like to go E to extrude and then S to scale, and extrude it in like this. Then I'm going to go E and extrude it in, and if this is a little bit slow, you can just disable the subdivision surface modifier here on the side by clicking on this little screen. So let's go ES to extrude and scale into about here, and then E to extrude out. So just something like that. You can be as creative as you want, add in little details, but I'm just going to keep it at this for now. And tab back out of edit mode, so we're now back in object mode. And let's just enable the subdivision surface modifier here again. And you can also click on these little tabs here just to minimize things, makes it a little bit neater and more organized. Okay, so let's add in some more stuff. So we're going to go Shift A, we're going to go to our mesh options, add in a circle. We're going to come here to our add circle options. Let's just give this guy a count of 16, which is going to be half of 32 vertices. So now it's got 16 vertices. And now we have this circle here. So what we're going to do is just go G, Z, and just bring it down anywhere around here. We're going to go into edit mode. I'm just hitting the tab key to tab into edit mode. Go to your vertice select options here. And we're going to go with all of these vertices selected. We're going to go E to extrude, and then Z. And we're going to extrude up to about here. And then we're going to go E to extrude and S to scale. Scale this out. And then E to extrude, and then Z. And we're going to extrude up like this. And then E to extrude, and then S. And we're going to scale this in, something like that. And then E, Z, and just extrude this up on the Z. So we have a shape that looks like this. Then we're going to go to modifiers, give this guy a array modifier. Come here to the X value, make it 0. And we want it to be working with our Z coordinates. So let's give this a value of 1. So now it's stacking this perfectly on top of the other ones. It's creating an array on the global Z. So what we want to do is, with this loop selected, you can go S to scale it. And you want to make sure that these vertices line up. So you can see what I mean here, right? We want these vertices, if we go S, to kind of line up with the bottom vertices here. And you can select these loops here, just Shift Alt click on the loop of vertices, and just hit S to scale. And if you come over here to the array modifier, you can click merge. And as long as these ones are really close, it should be merged. So now if we tab out of edit mode and we go into object mode, we can also go S and then Z to scale on the Z and make this as custom as we want. I'm just gonna go something like this. And let's just give this guy a bevel array modifier, not an array, a subdivision surface modifier as well. Go to object and enable shade smooth. So this is totally where you have as much artistic license. So I'm going to come here to the array modifier and just give this guy a count of about 4. And then I'm going to go S just to scale this whole unit down to about here, and then G, Z, and just move it up into there. So now we have the neck kind of rubbery part. And let's add the body here, which is just simply a drum. You can't get easier than that when it comes to modeling. So select the head over here, tab into edit mode, and Shift Alt click on a loop of vertices down here, preferably this one. Then go Shift D and then Z and bring this guy down to here, just at the bottom of the neck. And then we're going to go E to extrude and Z. And we're going to extrude this down to about here, so something like that, maybe a little bit more up. Then we're going to hit F to fill in those faces. And I know it's a bit of a mess, don't worry. Shift Alt click on this top row of vertices, and then hit F to fill that in as well. So what we're going to do now is go to our edge select here, Shift Alt click on this edge of vertices here, Shift Alt click on this bottom loop of vertices here. So you should both be selected. And we're going to go Control B, and we're just going to bevel this. So we're going to create a bevel, and if you roll your middle mouse wheel, like I said earlier, you can add in more segments. I'm going to add in about 2 segments or so. So we have something like this. Control R, hovering over here, and then roll your middle mouse button, and we're going to add in 2 loops like this. Double click to add them in, and then we're going to go S, Z, and just scale them up on the Z to about here. Tab out of edit mode, go to object and enable shade smooth. So now we have the body here, and instead of having to get into really complicated modeling with making the little hatch here in the chest, we're just going to simply use a Boolean function. So we're going to go Shift A, we're going to go to our mesh options, add in a cylinder. This time we want to come to our cylinder object settings and double it. So we're going to go 64 vertices, and we're going to go over here to our object properties, go down to the viewport display. We want to make the display as wire. Come to the display here, and we want to set untick show and render, because we don't want this cutter object to show in a render. We will be putting it in a different layer anyway, but just to be safe. So then what we're going to do is, just while we're over here on object properties with this guy selected, just go up. Let's just call this, instead of cylinder, let's just call it cutter. Okay, so now we have our cutter object. So we're going to hit 3 on a number pad to go to our right orthographic view. Then we're going to go R90 and hit enter. And then we can go G and move this guy over here, and then S to scale. And this is personal preference. You can make this as big as you want, but as long as it's roughly in the middle of this cylinder here, it'll be good. So I'm just going to place mine right about here. And then we're going to grab the body here. We're going to give it another, on top of the subdivision surface modifier, we're going to add a Boolean modifier. Click on the little eyedropper and select that cutter object. And then on top of this, we're going to also add a edge split to clean up that funky shading over there. We're going to grab the cutter here, we're going to hit M to move it, and we're going to move it to a new collection, and we're going to call this cutters. And we're going to go OK. Now we can see over here in our scene collections, this is our collection here. If we untick that, that's everything else. But if we untick this cutters layer, it's going to get rid of that for us. But while we're at it, just bring that back, and with this guy selected, go to Object and just enable Shade Smooth as well. And then you can come here to the cutters, just unhide this, now we don't see it. And that's looking really good. And what we're going to do now is just select this body here, and we're going to go Shift D, so Shift D to duplicate it, right click to let go. It's still selected, but we're going to go Control I or Command I. That's going to inverse the selection, so it's going to select everything else, and we're just going to hit H, and that's going to hide it. So everything else is hidden. We now have this guy here. We're going to just tab into edit mode, select any part of this up here, go Control L. It's going to select everything. We're going to go X and delete vertices. And then what we're going to do is just go to our face, select here, Shift and Alt, and just click here to loop select these faces. Then Control I to inverse the selection, and X and delete those faces. So now we have this guy here. We're then going to go Control or Command R, hover over here, add in a loop cut, just one, double click to add it in. Then if you hit V, so the V key, it's going to cut that, and right click to let go. Now with that loop still selected, you're going to go E to extrude and S to scale, and you're just going to scale it in a tiny little bit. You're then going to go Control L if that's still selected, or Command L, and then hit H just to temporarily hide it. Then Shift Alt, click on this loop here, and then E to extrude and S to scale it in a tiny bit. And now you can go Alt H and just unhide that. So just Alt H. And now if you come over here, Control R, double click, double G, slide in a loop. Control R, double click, double G, and slide in a loop here. And then we can just grab this guy here, the top, double G just to slide it down a bit. Grab this guy here, double G just to slide it up a bit. Tab out of edit mode. And now we can go Alt H to unhide everything else. And just select this guy we just made again, this one. Just go into edit mode, hit A to select everything, and just go S and just scale it a little bit, just with S. Just so it's in there like that. Tab out of edit mode, and where is it? Okay, so what's happening is it's actually here. This guy's actually here, but it has, because we duplicated it from the body, it has that Boolean modifier. So just come over here to the modifier stack, and just get rid of the Boolean function here, and also the edge split. You can get rid of that. So all we want is the subdivision surface modifier. So now we can see we have these nice little doors here, which are going to be very handy later, and we're going to add some very simple things to animate that. So in fact, we might actually just do that now while we're at it. So what we're going to do is just come over here to our, click on the object data properties, go to the shape keys here, click on the little plus, and click it twice, and we're going to make our first shape key here. And we're just going to tab into edit mode with that shape key selected. And then what we're going to do is just select this top part, this guy here, go S, Z, and scale it down on the Z a bit, then go G, Z, and move it up to here, and do the same thing with the bottom. Control L, just to select that, S, Z, and scale it down on the Z, G, Z, and bring it down to here. Just so we have that. Tab out of edit mode, and now if we come here to this key 1, in fact, let's just call it open door. And now if we grab this open door shape key and we grab this value here, we can open this like that. So now we have this nice little door without any fancy rigging or anything like that. We could just animate this slider here essentially. So for now, I'm just going to leave it at a value of 1. And let's add in the little heart. So I'm going to go Shift A, add in a cube. Just tab into edit mode real quick. Go Control R, double click to add in this loop cut. Hit V to cut it, so just the V key. And move it over to the side. Control L to select all of that geometry, X, and delete those vertices. Now we have half a cube. Go to your modifier stack, just add in a mirror. Make sure to enable clipping. And then we're going to hit A to select all of this, S and Y, just to scale it in a bit. And we're going to create a super simple heart. So this is actually tab out of edit mode. Just move this guy up a bit. Tab back into edit mode. Control R, add in another loop over here. Grab this edge, G, Z, and bring it down. Control R, double click, add in a loop here. Grab this guy, G and X, and move it out. Grab this edge here, go to your front orthographic view, just G, move it over here. and then grab this bottom edge and then G and just bring it down. Now we're going to go Control R, hovering over the side here, double click, and then we're going to go Alt and S just to scale that out like this. We're then going to add a subdivision surface modifier on top of this, and let's bump the viewport up to 1 or up to 2. Tab out of edit mode, and now we've got a rough little heart here, and you can edit this as much as you want at any time. Control R, add in some more details. I'm just creating a very basic one here. It doesn't really matter. Just something simple. Go to Object, Enable Shade Smooth, and now we have a simple little heart here. I'm just going to go S to scale it down, then G and Z, and just bring it into the chest here. Go to your right orthographic view, G, Y, and just move it forward. Just place it wherever you want. I'm just going to place it right here. That looks really good to me. Maybe a bit more forward. Okay, so now we have his little heart in there. And what I'm going to do right now is just hit A to select all of this. And also make sure you enable the cutter layer. That's very important whenever you're going to move stuff. And make sure that cutter is also selected. So everything is selected. We're going to go G, Z, and just move this guy up to here. And you can see with the grid spacing, there's about a cube, half a cube height over here. So look at my grid spacing here. And this is a good way for you guys to kind of get reference with the scale here. In fact, if I add in a cube, you can see it's the height of half of a cube above this red line here. So that's the scale we're working with here. So just unhide that cutters layer. And so next we're going to be adding in his little arms and legs and the little robot hands. Okay, so what we're going to do to simplify things and make it easier, we're just going to select our neck here. We're going to go Shift D and then X just to move it over to the side. And then we're going to go R90 and hit enter. So we've just rotated it 90 degrees. And that's in our front orthographic view. So now we're going to go S to scale it down. We're going to go G, Z, and bring it down to here where the arm is going to be roughly. And then if we go S, X, we can scale this out on the X like this. So I'm going to go with something like that. Control A and just apply the scale on that. Okay, so now we have this arm. We can simply come here to our modifier stack, go to the array, and up here, we just increase the segment count. Very simple. So this is also going to be one of those things where it's personal preference. You can scale it, make it very long, make it very short. You can add in less or more segments. I'd recommend something around 20 would be a good number, and with a scale about here. You can go G, X, and move it into the body a little bit more. Maybe I'll bump this up to 22. Just maybe a bit smaller. Okay, something like that will be fine. So let's just come here to its modifier stack, just minimize things over here. And let's give this guy a mirror modifier. Get the little eyedropper and select the body here. So now it's perfectly mirrored. So let's do the same thing with the legs. So Shift D to duplicate this guy, Z, bring it down. In our front orthographic view, we're going to go R90 and hit enter. G, X, move it in over here. And then G, Z, and bring it up. And with this guy, we're going to hit S to scale it a little bit more, make these legs thicker. And we're going to go to our array modifier here and just decrease this count till it's touching the floor. So this might be a little bit different for you. So in my case, that's about 8. And we'll add in the feet later, but for now, let's just focus on the hands. So we're going to go Shift A, go to our mesh options, add in a quick cylinder. Make sure to come to the add cylinder settings down here. And let's just make this 16. So nothing too crazy. And then we're going to go G, just move it over here. S to scale it, and in our front orthographic view, we're going to go R90 and hit enter. And you can hit Z, go into your wireframe. If this makes things easier, you can see what you're doing here. So we're going to line this guy up right about here. So just, and then we're going to go S and go X and scale it on the X. And we're going to go Control A and just apply the scale. We then want to go add a bevel modifier. Make the limit method angle. And then just decrease the offset here till we get a smaller bevel. And then go to your segment count here and bump it up to 2. Maybe even 3. And then we're going to give this guy a subdivision surface modifier. And here we have that part. We're going to go to Object, Selected Object, and Enable Shade Smooth. We're then going to give this guy a mirror modifier. And we're going to click on the little eyedropper and select the body here. So now it's mirrored over on the other side. And let's just make quick little claws. This is so simple. We're just going to go Shift A, add in a cube. G, just move it over to your right here. S to scale it down. Once again, you can go into wireframe if it makes things easier. So I'm going to place the first cube right about here. go to the mirror modifier, and this is a little trick for you guys. Get a mirror modifier for this guy. Click on a little eyedropper, and this time we're going to select the cylinder here, this little hand. So now if we scale this, it's going to be mirroring on the bottom, so we can make 2 claws in one shot, which is really cool. So we're going to move this guy to about here, scale it like this, tab into edit mode, and then we're going to go to face select this face over here. We're going to go E to extrude, and then R to rotate to about here, and then E to extrude. You can then go to your edge select here, Shift Alt, click on this edge, you can rotate it, you can move it. So just create a claw that works for you. I'm going to grab this edge up here, just G, move it in a bit, and maybe grab this edge here, move it down a bit. Totally up to you guys, just create a claw that you like. I'm just going with something really stylized like this, and then I'm going to tab out of edit mode, and I'm going to give this guy a bevel modifier. Make sure to go Control A and apply to scale, of course. Going to make the limit method angle, and then come up here to your offset and just decrease it quite a bit. So about something like that, and then increase the segment count. And then go to object and enable shade smooth. In fact, I'm going to bump the segment count up to 4 in this case. We won't be adding a subdivision surface modifier. It's not really necessary for this guy. So we're just going to move it in a bit more. And here we have these nice little claws. And all we can do now is add another mirror modifier. Click on the little eyedropper, and this time select the body. And now it's mirrored on the other side as well. So that is looking so cool, and it was very simple to do. So let's add some little Android feet here. So we're going to go and once again just a simple cube, S to scale it down, just move it over to the side here. As long as the bottom of the cube is sitting on the floor here, like the red line, that should be okay. Go to your right orthographic view, simply tab into edit mode, and select the vertice option here. Z, go into wireframe, and then just box select these top vertices. G, Z, bring them down to wherever you like the height of your foot to be. Select all of these vertices at the front here, and then go E, Y, and extrude them forward. Select these 2 top vertices here, and then G, just bring them down. And just create something that works for you. I might just grab this back face here, S, X, and scale it into X a bit. Control R over here to add in a loop, double click, and then S, X to scale it out. So just making something that looks kind of almost a little bit organic, but not quite. So just a foot like that should be okay. Tab out of edit mode and just adjust it a little bit more if you have to, just to where you like it. And then we'll just go add modifier, give this guy a bevel modifier. Control A, make sure to apply to scale. Come over here to the limit method, make it angle. And then come here to the offset, mess around with it just to round out those sharp edges. So I'm going to go something like this and bump the segment count up to 3, go to object and enable shade smooth. So here we have a foot. Obviously just grab the leg here and you're going to go G, Z and just move it further up into the body. It doesn't really matter, you're not going to see it. And then with this foot selected, let's just give that guy a mirror, and once again click on the eyedropper and select the body. So now we have our little Android guy here coming together. S, X maybe, just scale this one out a bit more. So yeah, this is totally personal preference. You guys can spend as much time. In fact, I think these feet work quite well. As simple as they are, they work quite well for this design. So here we have our little Android guy. So we have, like we made earlier, we made his little controls here, which is going to be really handy for our animation. And what we're going to do next is just apply some of these modifiers, add a very, very quick and basic rigging to this guy, just for some basic arm placement and stuff, and then we'll get into the animation. Okay, so what we're going to do first of all is select the arm over here. We're going to go to our modifiers tab over here, and we're just going to apply the ray modifier. And we're also going to apply the mirror modifier, but the subdivision surface modifier we don't want to apply. We're then going to go grab this hand part here. We're going to apply the bevel, and we're also going to apply the mirror, but once again, the subdivision surface modifier we won't be touching. Then we're going to grab the claws here, apply the mirror, apply the bevel, but okay, we didn't add, just apply all of them, because I just thought I actually applied the subdivision surface, but I realized we don't have one. So I just applied everything here, all of them. So that should be fine, nothing damaged there. So now to have this, this, and this applied, we're just gonna select the arm first of all, and then actually select the claw first and holding in shift select the hand, and then still holding in shift we're gonna select the arm. We're then gonna go Control J, and that's gonna join everything to the arm. So this is now all one part. In fact, because we applied the mirror, so it should all be on this side as well. So if we actually tab into edit mode, it's all geometry on both sides, which is really good. We just want to fix our origin point here. So we're just going to hit F3. We're just going to type in set origin. Click on set origin. We're going to go origin to geometry. So that's going to put that origin point nice and in the middle. So that's where we want it to be. Okay, so with the legs here, I think I'm just going to leave them because we're not going to actually be animating him walking anything. We're just going to be adding some very basic rigging to the arms and the head and stuff like that. So let's start by going Shift A. We're going to go to our armature settings here, click on single bone. We want to go down to our bone settings here, go to viewport display. Actually, first of all, click on the little green guy here and then go to viewport display. We want to make the display as a B bone. And once we've done that, we're going to go and tick in front over here at the viewport display as well, so just so we can see our bones underneath the mesh. We're then going to tab into edit mode with this bone selected. Select this top little nub here, go G, Z, and just bring it down a bit. And then we want to grab this bone here, the whole bone, and we're going to go Shift D to duplicate it. Bring it up here to the arm. Then we're going to go R, and we're going to rotate it towards our right. So it's roughly flat. Then we're going to go SZ0, and that's just going to flatten it perfectly. And then we're going to bring it to the base of the arm here. So I'm going to bring mine right about here. Then I'm going to grab this nub here, go G, X to move it in a bit. And then we're going to go E to extrude and X. And we're going to extrude it out in the X to where the hand is. And then we're going to extrude it one more time on the X, extrude X. Then we're going to select this bone here. We're going to go Control Alt and S and just scale it in a bit. So just Control Alt and S or Command Alt and S. And with that done, we're going to go to our bone settings here. Go to bendy bones. We're going to increase the segments on this bone with it selected to about 12, maybe even 15. Okay, so 15 segments. And then what we need to do is we need to select this bone over here. We need to go Alt P, clear bone, and then Alt P and disconnect bone. Once we've done that and we have this bone still selected, we want to hold in Shift and then select this bone down here and go Control P and go keep offset. And you can grab this bone here, holding in Shift, select the base bone, Control P, keep offset. Now what we want to do is just name them. So we're going to name this bone over here. So go to your bones tab here, go to the top, and we're going to call this bone over here arm base dot L. So make sure it's a capital L. You're going to select the arm here. We're going to go arm dot capital L. And we want to select the hand here, call it hand dot capital L. So make sure it has to be capital L. And then we're going to select all three of these bones here. So all three of them are selected. We're going to go to armature and we're going to go symmetrize. And because we have that .L extension, it'll all be symmetrized on the other side, and it'll be named arm, whatever the name was, with the extension .R, which it automatically fills in for us. So this is hand.R, this is arm.R, and this is armbase.R. And now we're going to just simply go into our pose mode here, and we're going to do some basic constraints. We're just going to select the hand here, holding in Shift, we're going to select the arm. Then you can go Control Shift C or Command Shift C. It's going to have these options come up, and you're going to make this a stretch to constraint. You're then going to go grab this guy over here, holding in Shift, select the right arm, Control Shift C or Command Shift C and go stretch to. Now if you grab this bone here and you move it, you can see the arm goes along, and the same with this one here. But it's not going to follow the rotation. So if we rotate it, it's not doing anything. So a simple solution to the problem, just select the right arm first, or this left arm first. Go to your bendy bones options here, and under bendy bones, we're just going to scroll down. We're going to make the handle here an absolute and the end handle an absolute as well. Go to your custom at the top, and we're going to make this one arm base.L, and the bottom one we're going to make arm or just hand.l. So just hand.l. So now if we grab this and we rotate it, that arm is going to bend with the rotation as well, and the same with the base bone. So let's just quickly do the same on the other side. Select this arm bone here, the arm.r. Under your bendy bone settings, do the same thing under bendy bones. Set both of these to absolute. And then make the top one, we're going to make this arm base.r. And the bottom one, we're going to make hand.r. So now if we grab this hand bone and we rotate it, it's going to follow the rotation. And the same thing here with the base bone. So that's really good. So now what we're going to do is just parent our arms to this. To go back into your object mode, of course. So once you're in object mode, you're just going to select the arms here. Holding in shift, you're going to select the armature. So the armature is now going to be active. Go Control P, and we're going to go set parent to with automatic weights. And that's exactly what we want. So if we now grab the rig here and we go into our pose mode, we can now grab this controller here and go G, move it, and then rotate it. And you can see the arm is rotating along. And that is really, really cool. And if you wanted to, you could add in some extra bones to actually control the claws here and make them clamp. But we're just keeping this really simple. It's more just for the purpose of posing. So what we're actually going to do is just pose this guy at the moment. So I'm going to actually grab this bone here, G, move it in a bit, and then R to rotate it. And then grab this hand bone and kind of just pose it more to the side. And if you want it to mirror perfectly on the other side, you can just select the bone, go Control C, then Control Shift V, and it'll paste it perfectly to the other side. But I want them to be a little bit random. So I'm going to grab this arm and I'm going to position it a little bit differently. So I might bring the arm out a bit more, go into your right orthographic view. You can also move this bone forward a bit and then rotate it. And this is where you just come in and you make it look as natural as you want. So I'm just keeping things simple, but I'm happy with a pose like that. So just something super basic, nothing too complicated. Then once I'm done with that and you guys are happy with how you've posed it, just go back into your object mode. And as far as the head goes, I was thinking we can actually avoid rigging the head here, because all we simply have to do is just tab into edit mode. Select any part on the top of this head, go Control L to select all of the geometry. Just hit P to separate by selection, and then tab back into object mode. And then also you can just grab your eyes here and just apply the bevel and apply the mirror modifier. And then holding in shift, select the head and then go Control J, and that's going to join it to the head. Now all you have to do is go R, Z, and you can easily rotate the head like this. Now if you wanted to, you could actually join the neck to the head as well and add another bendy bone system, but I'm just not going to do that now. I'm just keeping things simple. I think the neck doesn't have to bend. We can just simply have it rotating like that. That'll be fine. It won't hurt anything. So the main thing that's going to make this interesting anyway are these guys over here that are going to be opening up to reveal the heart. So that is essentially our little character completed. So the next part is going to be doing our animation, and then we can get into materials and setting up a little scene and just make it look like really cool. Okay, so we're going to keeping animation very simple. So what we're going to do is come here to our timeline first of all, just hover over here and drag it up a little bit, gives us a little bit more space. And for now, I'm not sure what the end frame value will be, but let's just start animating. So we're going to come to frame 1. So make sure you drag this little slider to frame 1. And it's going to be on frame 1 where we're going to select our head first of all. And we're going to go I, hit the I key, and we're going to insert a location, also a location and a rotation key, right? So you can see here, there's a yellow keyframe on frame 1. And what we're going to do is we're going to come to frame 30. And in frame 30, we're going to double tap R in our front orthographic view, rotate the head over a little bit, and we're going to go I and insert a location and a rotation key. So now if we come to frame 1, hit the space bar to play, you can see the head is animating here. And it's a little bit slow, so maybe if we just grab the head here and we just get rid of the boolean with the head and also get rid of the edge split with the head. So let's just have a look at that. Hopefully that's a little bit faster now. Okay, so that's fine. What we're going to do is, as his head's turning, we're going to have it come to about frame 45, and then we're going to double tap R, just move his head up a little bit, and go I, insert a location rotation key. So it's just going to kind of look over a little bit, his head kind of lifts up, and it's going to be a little bit of a hold, so come to about frame 70, double tap R and just move his head a little bit. Go I and insert a location and rotation key. So just want to have his head swinging over to the side, kind of lifting up and stopping. And we're going to have a hold here till frame 100. So we're going to go I and insert a location and a rotation key on frame 100. So it'll just create this little bit of a hold here. Maybe that's a bit too much. So grab this keyframe on frame 100, go G and just move it to frame 85. So let's have a look at that. Okay, that's much better. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have his head come back to where it was at the beginning. So come to frame 130, and then we're going to just grab this keyframe on frame 1. So it's now yellow. We're going to go Shift D and just drag it to frame 130. So like that, and then his head's going to go back to where it was. So all he's doing is just this little kind of looking over, and then he looks back to where he was originally. So that's going to give me an idea how long I want my animation to be. So let's come here to the end frame value. I'm going to make it 150 frames. So it'll be a loopable animation. So it's going to come back to where it was originally. That's why we duplicated the first keyframe. Okay, so that's done. So let's grab his the main part here, which is going to be this little hatch that opens up. So obviously we want to come to frame 1, go to object data properties, and we want to come to the open door slider here. And with a value of 0, we want to kind of come over here to the side and click on this little dot here. That's going to add in a keyframe. You can now see it's yellow. Also, you can hit I, hovering over it, to insert a keyframe as well. Do the same thing. And we're just going to come to frame 140, and we're going to make sure the value is still at 0, and then click on the little keyframe button here as well. And now you can see we have another keyframe added in here. And it's just one big hold at the moment. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to come here to frame 30, and on frame 30 we're going to come and also just click on this keyframe here, and then we're going to move up a little bit to frame 70, and on frame 70, or maybe frame 60, we're going to drag this value up to 1, and then we're going to click on the keyframe here. That's going to add in the keyframe. So if we go to frame 1 and we actually hit the spacebar and we play this animation, we can see the heart opening up here. But obviously we want it to stay open for a bit, so what we're going to do is come to frame 110. And in frame 110, we're going to drag this value up to 1 as well. And we're going to click on the little keyframe here. And that's going to make a hold for the door to stay open. Alright, so this is what we're having right now. So the little hatch opens up, you can see the heart, and it closes up again. So that's really cool. So what we're going to do now is grab the rig here, simply go into our pose mode. And if you're happy with this pose, we're just going to come to frame 1, hit A to select all of the bones, I, and insert a location and rotation key, and then come to frame 145 and go I and insert a location and rotation key. And that's just going to make sure it ends the same way as it starts, making it loopable. And it's in here we can come in and just randomly kind of move the arms just a little bit and rotate them just to make it look a little bit like this movement in his arms as he's sitting here. So I'm just making tiny little movements and rotations. Once you're happy, hit A to select everything, and then I, insert a location and rotation key. So you can see here his arms kind of moving, and I'm going to come to frame 80, and on frame 80 I'm going to move them again a little bit more. Same thing over here. Totally up to you guys how you want to do this. Once you're happy, again, hit A to select everything, I, and insert the location and rotation key. And yeah, just spend as much time as you want. So I'm just grabbing these guys on frame 120, moving them around a bit. A to select everything, and then I, and insert a location and rotation key. So now I'm going to go back into object mode, and I'm just going to select these arms, go to the modifier stack here, and just make sure to actually add the armature above. So just click on this little tab here to put it above the subdivision surface modifier. And now, that should be a lot better. It's a little bit slow, so I'm going to just grab the arm here and just untick the subdivision surface modifier here. Okay, so that is kind of our animation at the moment. You guys can spend as much time as you want perfecting this, making it look really good. And I know the neck isn't moving along. It doesn't really matter. It's just very stylized. And next, we're going to make it look even better by adding in some materials. Okay, so what we're going to do first of all is let's just drag this down a bit, give us a bit more space. So we're going to go Shift A. We're just going to add in a simple backdrop. So we're going to add in a plane, and we're just going to scale this up about this much. Then we're going to go S and X just to scale along the X. And let's just go into edit mode of this guy, go to our edge select this back edge here, go into your right orthographic view. And then we're just going to go E to extrude it out a little bit, and then E to extrude it. And we're just going to keep hitting E and extruding it out a little bit. It's just something like that. And we're going to tab out of edit mode, go to object, enable shade smooth, and then we're going to come to our modifiers and give this guy a subdivision surface modifier and just bump up the viewport display a few times. And now we have this nice backdrop. So let's add in a camera. So go into your front view, we're going to go Shift A, add in a camera. Go to your right orthographic view and go G, just move it over here. Hit 0 to go into your camera view, and it's at this point where you can go to your camera settings. And let's just make it an orthographic. And you can mess around with the scale here to zoom in and out, but I'm just going to go something like this. And then we're going to go to our output settings. We're going to make the Y resolution 1920. We're going to hit enter. So that's under our resolution. And we can grab our camera here and just rotate it and move it. So I'm in my right orthographic view here. And you can also do it in camera view. So with your camera selected, just hit R to rotate it. And you can come here to your camera settings and just mess around with this orthographic scale to zoom in and out. So I'm just gonna go with something like this. And you guys can spend as much time positioning your camera as you want, but that's looking pretty good. So we're also gonna go to our render settings, click on this little camera, enable ambient occlusion, bloom, and also screen space reflection. Once you've done that, we can add in our lights. We're gonna go Shift A, add in our first light. It's gonna be an area light. I like to go into my front orthographic view and then go G, Z, and just move it up to about here. And we're going to increase the size here a little bit to about probably 6 meters, and then go S, X, and scale along the X a bit. And we need to increase the strength quite a bit because it's a large scene, so I might just start with 500 and see where that goes. And then I'm going to go R to rotate it in the front view, and then G, just move it over to the side. Go to your top orthographic view and then just rotate your camera. We're then going to go Shift D to duplicate it, move it over here, and we're just creating some basic lighting. So go into your camera view by hitting 0, go Z, and then click on rendered, and then see what that looks like. Okay, so the lights are quite underpowered, so I might select each light and just drag this power amount up a little bit, maybe into the 600 range. And totally mess around with it till you get something you like. I might just grab these lights here, Shift D, duplicate them, and move them back in the scene a little bit here. Just something like that. Okay, so I'm quite happy with that, maybe a little bit more. Okay, so here we have our lighting. So what we're going to do now is simply go into our shading workspace. So click on the shading, and then hit 0 to go back to your camera view, hit Z, and then go into rendered view. And what we're going to do is we're going to start adding some basic materials. So the first one is going to be this kind of like green chrome material. So we're going to select the head over here. We're going to go new, and let's call this green chrome. Okay, so green chrome. And we're going to make this one light, so underscore light, because it's going to be a little bit lighter. And we're going to come here and get this nice kind of lime kind of green, and then increase the metallic value all the way up to 1, and then bring the roughness down on this a little bit. So you can mess around with this as much as you want. So just something like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go over here to our materials tab. And while we still have this head selected, we're going to click on the little plus here, go new. Let's create another one. We're going to call this one green chrome, and we're going to call it dark. And we're going to come over here to this new node and make it a darker lime kind of green, a little bit darker. And this tab into edit mode, select both of these eyes over here, these eye parts, and we're going to click on this green chrome dark material and assign. And now we're going to come down with that material selected, just increase the metallic value as well and bring the roughness down a bit. And they should now be applied to the eyes. Let's make this a little bit darker. Tab out of edit mode, so you can see now that new chrome material is applied here. And I'm going to make it just a little bit darker. bring the roughness down a bit maybe. Okay, so that's looking good. What we're going to do now is select the neck part here. We're going to go new, create a new material, call it rubber, and let's make this one black. I'm going to bring the roughness down a bit, and that should be fine. I'm going to select these arms over here, go to your materials tab here, go to the top, and give it that same rubber material. With those arms selected, we're going to tab into edit mode, and then we're going to select, just select this guy over here, and this part over here. So when they're both selected, we're going to come over here, click on the little plus. I'm going to come down here, select that green chrome light material and assign. And we're going to also select the little claws here. So just select all the little claws. Once you have them selected and we're in our edit mode here, we're going to come to the materials tab, hit plus. This time we're going to go new and we're going to call this one metal. Hit enter and go assign. Now we're going to come to this new node over here and just drag the metallic value all the way up to 1 and just make this a little bit darker. And then bring that roughness down a bit. Okay, now tab out of edit mode. So now we're back into object mode. You can see that metallic material is looking pretty good. So what we can do now is select the body here. And we're going to click on this little drop down, give it that chrome green light material. And we're going to select these little doors over here and go to our materials and give this guy the green chrome dark material. And then we're going to select our heart. We're going to go new and just call this heart. And we're simply going to give this a nice red material. Bring the roughness down a bit to make it a little bit more reflective. And then what we're going to do is select the body here. And we're just going to come here to a modifier stack and we're going to apply the subdivision surface modifier. We're also going to apply the boolean, but we'll leave the edge split. We're then going to tab into edit mode. You're going to see all of these faces in here should be selected. Go down to your materials tab here, click on the little plus, click on the drop down and then select the rubber material and then go assign. So now the rubber material is assigned in here and it just looks a little bit better having a darker material in there, I reckon. We're then going to select the feet and give it that green chrome light material. And then select the legs, of course, and give it that rubber material. And that's looking really good. So let's just quickly do a little bit more of the eyes. So just select the head, tab into edit mode. And we're just gonna go to face select, select these two faces, and then go Control plus a few times just to grow the selection. About this much. And we're gonna add a little plus here and add in that metal material and then go assign. Then we're gonna go Control minus to shrink the selection a few times just so we have these discs selected. Click on the plus. This time we're going to go new and we're going to call this eyes. Hit enter. We're going to come down to the surface here and we're going to make this an emission. So go up and find the emission and click on it and make sure it's assigned. And then we're going to come here, make it yellow and then bump the strength up to 3 and hit enter. Tab out of edit mode. Now we have that material applied there to the eyes. We're now going to select our backdrop here. Go new, and I'm just going to call it BG for background. And I think purple complements this quite well. So I'm going to go with a kind of like a purple, just like that. And that's looking really good. So here we have our little Android guy. I'm going to select the rig over here and just hit M, and I'll move that to the cutters layer as well. So now it's just out of the way. And here we have a nice little scene. So what we're going to do is go to our layout here. And we can see we have our materials, but we also have this as an animation. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how we can render this out as a final animation. First of all, just make sure to save it, of course, before you start rendering. Then you're going to go to output settings here. Go down to your output folder here and click on the little folder. I'm just going to select my desktop for now. You guys can do the same. You want to go to the file format, make it an FFmpeg video. Go to your encoding here, and we're going to make the container an MP4peg. And once you've done that, you can simply, once again, just make sure to save it. You can go to render and you can click on render animation. It'll render this animation out to your desktop or wherever you've selected. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this tutorial. If you want to support me for all the stuff I do and have access to these blend files, feel free to go check me out on Patreon. And it's a great way to support the channel. It's in the description below. And you guys can also follow me on Instagram. That's also in the description below. And stay safe, guys, and all the best.